Living life, every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days.
That makes me laugh. Is that last word what I think it is in that intro? Guys, Keith Engel. For Dan Harris, who's not with us, and as you know, recuperating, we wish him all the best. And I hope you guys will get out there and give Dan a little shout out and give him some words of encouragement. I've been doing this show solo so we can provide the content for New York sports. Let's talk New York sports going forward. We hope Dan is doing well. Hope he sees this here. Maybe he'll pop in today. Who knows? And we wish Dan all the best and hope you'll do the same. But Keith Engel here for my co-host, Dan Harris. And this is New York. Let's talk New York sports. Sorry, I've done a lot of shows today. And my mind's a little beat up today. So we'll dive into the Jets and the Giants. We'll dive into the Buffalo and Patriots. And the Patriots aren't New York football, we know, but we do cover them on the sport because they are my team. Not a good performance by them last night, obviously, and tough road to hoe for them on the way to the playoffs. We'll talk all the football. We'll talk some Knicks and Nets. Yankees, Judge contract information revealed. The offer from the Yankees. We'll talk the Mets. And we'll get into maybe Syracuse just a little bit, the college football scene in New York sports. And guys, if you're here, I hope you'll jump in, comment, bring up a topic. We'll be happy to talk about it. But we're going to go through the New York sports scene a little bit, and we'll kind of see how that goes going forward. The Jets, we'll start with the Jets. Where are the Jets? Where's my Jets screen? Don't want the Bills. The Jets. How about the Jets? Nice win last week against the Bears, 31-10. Mike White stepping up in place of Zach Wilson. Plays very, very well. And the team, by the way, responded very well behind him. Mike White going 22 of 28, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 149 quarterback rating. Great job by Mike White. Zach Wilson, watch your back. Jets, don't give up on Zach Wilson. Maybe you can fix him. Get a good quarterback coach, somebody who can get in his kid's ear, mentor him, and get him to grow up. You can't sit there at a press conference when you was thrown for 77 yards a couple weeks ago against the Patriots and get asked, do you feel like you let your defense down, and say, no. And even your dad's calling you on the phone saying, what the hell are you doing? Don't give up on Zach Wilson, but the Jets need to figure out whether Mike White's got something. He had a game like this last year, remember, against the Bengals, who eventually went to the Super Bowl. So this wasn't a bad football team. Threw for 4 touchdowns and no interceptions, if I remember, in that game, maybe 400 yards. But then turned in a stinker right after it. Jets got to keep it going. Nice job by Zenovian Knight running the football for 69 yards. Michael Carter kind of non-existent. I really thought Michael Carter would step up here. He's been banged up. Ty Johnson gets 62 yards off 5 carries. So the running game was pretty good, 158 yards. Average 5 yards a carry. Garrett Wilson, another nice game. Garrett Wilson is maturing into a really good NFL wide receiver in his rookie season. He's been getting better and better. 2 touchdowns last week. Elijah Moore comes out of witness protection with the Jets, gets a couple of catches and a touchdown, 64 yards. Tyler Conklin, the tight end, 3 for 50. Overall, a nice performance by the Jets. Played very well defensively in this game. Now, albeit Josh Fields didn't play, but still. And I know you'll tell me it's the Bears. Well, the Jets are in the playoffs today. You know, it's remarkable. I got to stick up for the Jets. I say this every week. I got to stick up for the Jets and the Giants, who I can't stand. I'd love to talk about them. That's why I do a Let's Talk New York Sports broadcast. But, the Jets are in the playoffs today, guys. Give them some credit. Team's going to Minnesota this week. Big game. What's their record? 7-4 they are. Right now they're in the playoffs. I keep saying when I'm talking about the Patriots, 9 wins makes it in the AFC. Maybe not. Maybe they'll take 10. Do the Jets have it? Let's say they lose at the Vikings. They lose at the Bills, leaving themselves 7-6. They still got the Lions at home. They still got the Jaguars at home. There's your 9 wins. If you win no other games, that may be enough. Unless the Patriots or the Chargers get hot. Who's the other contenders? You got to figure the Dolphins and the Bengals, let's say, are going to get 2 of those spots. You got that leaves the Chargers, the Jets, and the Patriots for the 7th spot. Let's call the Bengals in there for that spot. 2 spots, 4 teams, 2 spots. First team to 10 wins gets it. Jet fans, you should be very happy with the way this team has played. What's not to like about what's going on here with this team? Zach Wilson hasn't stepped up. You're still 7-4. Coaching staff's done a good job. I've been very hard on Robert Saleh. I've probably given LaFleur more of a pass. It probably wasn't a good idea. At least last year, it didn't seem like a good idea for Robert Flores. I'm sorry, Robert Flores. Who the hell's that? Robert Saleh to hire, a first-time offensive coordinator in LaFleur, but they had a relationship. And they built it. They built on it. And LaFleur's done a very good job calling plays this year, and they've overcome some bad play by Zach Wilson, who needs to grow up. Again, I'm not saying he should be kicked aside. But find out what you got in Mike White, and maybe you have a real quarterback competition next year. Maybe that's what Zach Wilson needs to kick him in the butt and get him to grow up and mature. For me to watch an NFL quarterback 2 weeks ago throw for 77 yards in a bad loss to the Patriots, in a game they could have won, they lost it on a punt return, and say, no, I don't feel like I let my defense down. I don't know if he can win this team back. I think they should give him an opportunity to, but I don't know if he can win this team back. I was on the Mac and Jack show this morning, and Jack was talking about how the Jets are probably going to be afraid to trade him because he'll blossom somewhere else. Well, he may never blossom here. We talk a lot. Dan and I talk on this show a lot about playing in New York, and it's not for everybody, and not everybody can flourish here. And sometimes you got to go somewhere else to meet your potential. And that might be the case with Zach Wilson. He came into town when he was drafted and did all the right things from a public relations standpoint. Did all the right things, went all to the right places, talked to the right people, said the right things. But he carries himself like a spoiled child. And him in that press conference last week saying, no. To a simple question, do you feel you let your defense down? There's only one answer. Of course I did. I stunk it up out there, and I've got to do better. If he'd said that, he might still be the quarterback. Maybe he wouldn't. Maybe Mike White would have decided Robert Saleh would have decided he needs to see what he has in Mike White. But Zach Wilson just has not played well. That's all there is to it. There's games where he didn't play badly. The Buffalo game a couple of weeks ago didn't play badly. But for this team to go forward, Mike White's going to need to step up because I think Mike White is the quarterback for the future. There's zero chance I think you see Zach Wilson again. He wasn't even dressed last week. So their best chance now is Mike White is something resembling this player we saw last week and the player they saw last year against Cincinnati, and not the guy we've seen other times. Now, as a Patriot fan, I shouldn't be rooting for that. But for you Jet fans, you should be rooting for Mike White to succeed. You shouldn't necessarily root for Zach Wilson to fail, though. They're going to have to throw the football to win and make the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs, win a playoff game. Their running game is not there without Breece Hall. Michael Carter has taken a step back. Again, I know he's been injured, but you got a really good receiving core. I mean, the Giants would kill for this. We're going to segue into the Giants in a second. The Giants would kill for this receiving core. Garrett Wilson's played really, really good for a rookie, getting better, it seems, every week. Tyler Conklin. There's better tight ends, but this guy's not the worst. Corey Davis has played pretty well at spots. Elijah Moore, if he stops pouting, is a really good weapon. Even Mims has had his moments. This team, again, I see this AFC wildcard race now. Miami's got one of them. And I see a 4-team race between the Jets, the Bengals, the Chargers, and the Patriots for the other 2 spots. It's up to them to go out and get it done. Ay. Let's segue over to the Giants. They lose last week to the Cowboys, 28-20. Game probably wasn't that close. They fall to 7-4. They're still in the playoffs as of today. The schedule's not in their favor, though. Again, I think 9 wins. I think 9 wins will get you in. You know, when you look at the NFC, outside of the division winners, the only teams that are going to exceed 9 wins, I would say, are the Cowboys. Who else? Not the Lions. Not the Falcons. Maybe the Seahawks, but the Seahawks, I think, are starting to regress back to where they belong. Playoffs are out there for the Giants to grab. They got to play better than they played last week against the Cowboys, though. You've got to be able to run the football. The problem now is everybody knows what Saquon Barkley is. Saquon Barkley's the offense. This team doesn't have any real weapons for Daniel Jones, who's done a great job leading his team to 7-4. Really no weapons for him to throw the football. There's nowhere for him to go with the football. He was 21 of 35 for 228 and a touchdown last week. No interceptions. Quarterback rating 88. But they only ran the ball for 90 yards. 11 touches for Barkley. Not going to get it done. And, you know, Darius Slayton didn't have a bad game. Averaged 20 yards a catch for 3 catches last week. He stepped up a little bit. Richie James with 5 catches. But in a big moment, where does Daniel Jones have to go with the football? Nowhere. And this defense just didn't play well. 169 yards rushing given up. 92 to Zeke Elliott. I think we talked about this last week a little bit, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. Dak Prescott, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did throw 2 interceptions. Let's take a quick look at their path to the playoffs. I said 9 wins. There's no way 9 wins doesn't get in the playoffs in the NFC. No way. You get 2 games against a team formerly known as the Redskins. 1 this week, 1 o'clock on Fox. At home. Must win. Because you still got the Eagles at home. You got the team formerly known as the Redskins on the road. You got the Colts at home. Should be a win. You get 2 more wins. You split with the Commanders. Oh, I said the Commanders. Damn it. The team formerly known as the Redskins. And beat the Colts at home. You should be in the playoffs. Now, whether you have a chance there, I don't know. Daniel Jones has played good enough football for this team to be able to for this team to be able to make the playoffs and maybe have a chance to win. But the problem is there's nowhere to go. They've got to go out and find some weapons for this guy next year. Daniel Jones, to me, has played well enough this year to show he's the quarterback of the future. Now, whether the Giants think the same thing, I think Brian Daboll and his coaching staff has done a great job with this kid. I've said for the longest time, and you guys are probably tired of hearing me say it. Feel free to say I'm tired of hearing you say it. That if Daniel Jones wasn't drafted in the number 6 in the draft, he'd been picked late in the second round, Giant fans would be ecstatic with where he is today in his career and his growth as a major league quarterback because he's gotten better every year. And that's with about 4 different offensive coordinators. But it's not his fault he was picked 6. He's good enough to win in the NFL. You look around. Look around. I'll find you worse quarterbacks in a bunch of places. Where can I find worse quarterbacks? At least. Buffalo, no. Dolphins, no. Jets? Okay, 1. Patriots. I would argue, even as a big Mac Jones fan, he's better than Mac Jones. That's 2. Not there. Browns, 3. Okay, Deshaun Watson coming back. Show me something before I count you as better. The Steelers. I'm going to say he's better than Ryan Tannehill. That's 5. Colts, 6. Jaguars, 7. Texans, 8. Broncos, 9. Raiders, 10. Eagles, Cowboys, no. Commanders, 11. Lions, 12. He might be better than Aaron Rodgers right now. 13. Bears, 14. I'll give Tom Brady a pass. Falcons, 15. Panthers, 16. Saints, 17. At least 17 worse quarterbacks in the NFL than Daniel Jones. At least. Giant fans, wake up. Again, not a Giant fan here. I don't have a horse in this race. Smarten up, guys. Enjoy what you're watching. Again, Jet and Giant fans, if I told you before the season, you'd both have 7 wins already heading into week 12. You'd be ecstatic. Buffalo. Move on to the Bills. We already talked about what they did last night against the Patriots. Played really well. The Bills are now 9-3. You know, there's this feeling that the Bills weren't playing well. They're 9-3. They've scored more points than anybody in the NFL. Now they got a game in hand against the Chiefs, so we got to give them that, and the Eagles. They've only given up 209. Their point differential's among the best, is the best in the league. Won 3 in a row, all with Josh Allen hurt, banged up anyway. I still think this is the best, and I love Kansas City. I've said that the demise of the Kansas City Chiefs has been greatly exaggerated. The Bills are in great position to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs. all depending on what the Chiefs do. Now, remember, they beat the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs lose a game, Bills are getting home field advantage. Who are they going to lose to the rest of the way? They going to lose to the Jets at home? I don't think so. Dolphins at home? I really don't think so. The Bears on the road? I don't think so. At the Bengals? Maybe. Against the Patriots? Doubtful. That's 14 wins. 13 anyway. It's a good team. I don't need to tell you that. I keep hearing they can't win. Their defense is this, their defense is that. Their defense looked like gangbusters last week. And I understand Patriots offense isn't clicking on all cylinders. But it's a damn good defense without Von Miller. And they're hoping to get Von Miller back here before the season's out. How'd they run the football last night? I don't remember. How about that? I saw some pretty good runs last night. James Cook, 64 yards. He's a guy they've been waiting on. Dalvin Cook's brother out of Georgia, their number one pick. Played really well last night. Singletary, another workman-like performance. This team can compete with anybody in football, and I think they're the best team in football still. As a Patriot fan, I'm telling you the Bills are the best team in football. I like the Chiefs, too. Oh, God. I guess I already talked about the Patriots somehow last night, didn't I? I'm not sure how I did that, but I did. Let's see if we got any comments here. I don't think we do. I apologize for not looking sooner. Nope. Where else you want to go? How about the Knicks and Nets? I mean, Jesus, good grief. We got to talk Knicks and Nets. The Knicks are 10-2. They've lost one in a row. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Their defense is god awful. One of the worst defenses in the league. The problems here, they're not shooting well from the outside. Barrett's taking a step backwards. It's early in the season. I get it. But Barrett needs to play better. And they're probably going to need to make a trade before the deadline to shake this team up if they're going to have any chance to finish, maybe even in the play-in round. Right now, they're 10th, tied with Miami at 10-12 for the last spot. This team has to play better. Brunson's been up and down. Randall was playing well out of the gate, started to kind of fall backwards a little bit. Still a good player. Toppin got off to a good start, falling back a little bit. Grimes kind of fell out of favor with Tibbs, starting to play a little bit better ball, shooting a ball better from three. I want to see more Grimes in this rotation. Quickly, too inconsistent. For the Patriots to go out and make any kind of significant trade, they're going to have to be willing to trade Toppin or Quickly or both. Because teams aren't going to take Evan Fournier and say, okay, that's great. Let me give you, our top small forward. I don't even know what the Knicks need now. But again, right now I would say Coach Tibbs is fighting for his job. And you can't fire this coach without firing Leon Rose along with him. Leon Rose put this mess together. Leon Rose won't face the press. Sits up there in his ivory tower. Lets Thibodeau and the coaching staff face the music every night in this tough media market in New York. And he addresses the press like once a year. To me, he's the reason this Knick team was down last year and down right now this year. There's time to right the ship here. We're on 22 games into the season, 25% of the way into the season. We'll play another 20 games, and we're still a couple games under 500. There's going to be a problem. This team's got talent enough to win, to go 42-40 and make at least a play-in round. Make some deals. Leon Rose failed. We talk about free agents. Why don't free agents come here? Why would you come here? The last big trade the Knicks made was for Carmelo Anthony in 2012, I think. And the last free agent they got to come here of any consequence, Brunson's a nice player, but he's not a major free agent. The last guy before him was Amari Stoudemire over 10 years ago. And I would argue that he wasn't a top flight free agent then. He was on the downside of his career. Had a couple nice years with the Knicks. Got him to the playoffs. Had some big moments. But until you can show, until Leon Rose can show that they're willing to do what it takes to bring in players that the elite free agents want to play with, this team's going to be in trouble. Just the fact they couldn't pull off the trade for Donovan Mitchell last year. They could have done it. I know they could have done it. They weren't willing to give up what they wanted. Draft picks are a dime a dozen. You don't know if they're going to work out or not. Look what the Knicks do with draft picks anyway. Other than R.J. Barrett, what draft picks worked out here in the last 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, whatever? Quickly's played well, too. You could have beat the Cavaliers offer, and you didn't do it. And that shows, and look what he's doing. Mitchell's having a great year. Cleveland's 14-8. That's what free agents want to see, that you'll go out and your management's able to put together the pieces to make a big trade like this for Donovan Mitchell. And guys, bring up your topics. You got something you want to talk about in New York sports, we'll certainly dive into it. I'm just railing on the NBA right now. Leon Rose is culpable here. And again, could Thibodeau have done a better job? Yes. And Leon Rose keeps failing over and over and over again in my mind. Moving over to the Nets. Dumpster. They're playing better. They're 12-11. I mean, remember, this team got off like 1-5. So they're like 11-6 since then. Kevin Durant's playing great. Now the team's won three in a row, 6 out of 10. But there's not enough. Excuse me. There's not enough to go around here. Oops, I got into the injuries. I want to get into the stats. Kevin Durant's still one. Kevin Durant, and again, you say all you want, and I have said a lot about Kevin Durant. His leadership leaves a lot to be desired. But when he's healthy, he's one of the best players on the planet. Still one of the top 5 players in the league. Injuries have not seemed to diminish his capabilities. Averaging 30 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, and 5 assists. Great player. Problem is he's surrounded by head cases like Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, who's playing better. But even if Kyrie Irving goes drama-free the rest of the year, and Ben Simmons actually shoots the ball here and there, who are the other guys that are going to step up as role players here to shoot the ball? Nick Claxton? Harris? Seth Curry? This was a bad idea from the start. Durant wanted out. Kyrie wanted out. They should have moved on, torn it down, and rebuilt this team. Durant wants out. Then he demands, well, I'll come back, but fire the damn coach. Well, they don't fire the coach. They're a mess when the season starts, and then they fire the coach. And Jacque Vaughn's done a great job replacing Steve Nash. And listen, Steve Nash, it's not like they fired Red Auerbach here, right? But I said, when they first brought Durant and Irving and Harden together during the COVID season, was it during the COVID season? I think it was. I mean, they played like 9 games together the entire season. was a year after COVID. I lose track of time so easily these days. Steve Nash did a great job with that team, but he's not, going to the Hall of Fame as a coach. I don't know that I'll never get a shot again. But these guys wanted him. Kevin Durant came here, said he wanted Steve Nash to be his coach, and got Kenny Atkinson fired. They should have kept Kenny Atkinson. So you let Kevin Durant run the front office, hire the coach, bring in the players, and you got the mess you got that the Nets are now. Playing good basketball at the moment, I don't expect to continue. Kevin Durant's going to break down. Kyrie Irving's going to, drive too far and drive off the edge of the flat earth. And Ben Simmons is going to continue to refuse to shoot the basketball. And the Nets go nowhere. We'll dive more into that as we go along. Let's move into baseball, shall we? Probably not good. There's Pickles. We'll continue on basketball for a minute. Pickles, welcome in today. As you know, I am, or may not know, this is the show that I do with Dan Harrison. Dan's been laid up. Pickles, send Dan a note. I know he'd love to hear from you. I know that Robert has shows on the Let's Talk Sports Network as well, and I know you're a big follower of Robert's, and I appreciate when you come into my shows as well. So send Dan a note. He'd surely appreciate it. He did jump into my college football show the other night and participated a bit. So it was good to see Dan, and I still am in communication with him. He's doing better. So a long ways to go. Pickle says if Kyrie is in any locker room, problems are all. Agreed. And Pickles, listen. How you doing, buddy? Good to have you with me. Pickles, in Cleveland, now he had LeBron, right? He was LeBron's wingman. And while LeBron, I still think, was responsible for beating the Warriors in that series, I know Kyrie hit the big shot in the final game to win the series. But he was a problem there, forced his way out, got to Boston. He was a mess there. A team that probably had enough talent to challenge for at least an Eastern Conference championship, if not an NBA championship. He wrecked that chemistry. Was a cancer in that locker room. And as soon as he came to the Nets, problems started. And remember, Pickles, you correct me if you think I'm wrong. Kevin Durant handpicked these guys. James Harden was already here, I believe, but he wanted Harden to stay. He wanted Kyrie on his team. He wanted Steve Nash to coach this team. Till he didn't. You're right. Kyrie Irving will never be drama-free. This team, they're playing well right now. Kyrie's playing well. But it's just a matter of waiting for the next thing to fall. Agreed. You know what? LeBron gets, and in some cases it's warranted, right? LeBron gets a hard time from a lot of people. But LeBron, especially in his Cleveland days, great leader, great player. Maybe he needs to shut up now. And back in the day, I used to think he got it. He needs to shut up a little bit. But LeBron was a leader, showed leadership skills, as you say, Pickles, and did put Kyrie in his place. And Kevin Durant is showing lack of leadership. I thought he would be a leader on this team. He's still a great player. Lack of leadership, not good. There you go. He's a seriously passive-aggressive personality. He doesn't even know what he wants, right? Pickles? He wanted out of New York. He demanded, he said, I'm not coming back. Trade me. Well, they couldn't find a trade partner. Then he said, well, I'll come back, but fire the coach, who I wanted there and handpicked. I don't want to speak like I'm Kevin Durant. And then he says, all right, I'll come back. Well, how is this ever going to be a good idea? Pickles, tell me how it was ever going to be a good idea, right? Steve Nash takes the fall for Kevin Durant's failures as a GM. Oh, God. You're like the only one who said this besides me. Kevin, I said along, and I just said, I don't know if you were with me earlier, a little bit earlier, Pickles, when I said Steve Nash, I thought that first year of Kevin Durant, Harden, and Kyrie did a tremendous job keeping this team I think they had the second best record in the East, and they were this close to going to the NBA Finals when Kevin Durant's foot was on the line for a three-pointer against the Bucks. And he had those guys playing before the playoffs 9 times together. 9 times. This was year after COVID, right? Yes. Well, I shouldn't say COVID was over, but it wasn't the bubble year. Steve Nash did a tremendous job. And he had to deal with those guys being out. Harden having issues with Kyrie. Kyrie having, needing time off because he was so upset about what happened at the Capitol on January 6th. You know what? I was upset too as an American to watch what I watched. But guess what I did the next day? I went to work. Got me all worked up here, Pickles. Still trying to figure out how the Grizzlies are winning. Well, this is a New York sports show, but we'll take a quick look at it for you, Pickles. How about that? One thing I can tell you. I went to Major League Baseball. What the hell am I doing? One thing I'll tell you about the Grizzlies, and they played well last year, don't forget. This team, I think, made it to the Western Conference Finals. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like this team went to the Western Conference Finals. And I'll tell you what, Ja Morant, one of the best players in the league. Again, the Knicks got to go what if. So we can make this about New York sports, Pickles, because Ja Morant is this close to falling into the Knicks' hands. This is a guy averaging 28 points a game, 6 rebounds and 7 assists. He's one of the best players in the league. That's how they're doing it. And they're surrounded by a bunch of guys who know their roles outside of him. Unlike what the Knicks do and the Nets do. Surrounded by a bunch of really good role players. You don't need to put all your money into 3 superstars and then you can't fill in anything around them. Just my opinion. But when you can bring in guys like Bane and Jaren Jackson. By the way, Desmond Bane's averaging 24 points a game. So you can surround yourself with quality bench players where these other teams, look at the Lakers. I don't want to get too far off New York sports, but the Nets showed you can't do it. They had 3 great players. I got to call Kyrie a great player for a second. Sorry, he is a great player. He's just nuts. But once you wrap up that much money in 3 superstars, you can't put together a quality bench or even 2 more starters, complementary pieces. The Bucks have done a great job with this, by the way. The Nets have done it badly. It's been a mess ever since these 3 guys got put together. Yeah, both New York teams actually could be accused of this, Pickles. No plan. I mean, does it feel to you like the Nets have a plan? Does it feel to you? I felt 2 years ago, it felt like the Knicks had a plan, and then Leon Rose blows it up and brings in guys like Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker and guys who are not good fits here. Then he couldn't go out last year and make the Donovan Mitchell trade. That's why you can't bring in big free agents, good free agents that'll change a franchise's culture and atmosphere, because they don't trust that the guy running the show can build a winner. Ben Simmons couldn't buy a free throw. I knew he was in trouble. Ben Simmons, you know what? Ben Simmons has got some talent, Pickles. He won't shoot the basketball. He just will not shoot the basketball. I love it when I put myself out of office and people just call me anyway. So anyway, on to the Yankees. Let's get on to baseball. Thanks for bringing me back to basketball, though, Pickles. My head could explode. It's all good. What's going on in the world of New York sports? New York baseball sports. Yankees. I said this. So when Aaron Judge started his world tour for free agency, the Yankees put an offer in front of him, and they didn't release the details at the time. And I said all along, don't wait, don't worry, it'll come out, because they'll want him to look really bad when he turns it down, because that's what they did in the spring. They try to win the court of public opinion, which is really a great way to go back, winning the face of your franchise and getting to come back into the fold, right? Make him look bad in front of the fans. Didn't work in the spring, won't work now. Well, he's out visiting the Giants. He'll be visiting the Dodgers soon. I'm sure the Mets are on tap, and all this is going to heat up as we get to the winter meetings getting ready to start here in the near future. But all of a sudden, we've got a report of what the offer is: 8 years, $300 million. It's a nice offer. It's almost $40 million a year. Problem is, somebody's going to beat it. Somebody's going to go to 10 years, $400 million or $380 million or whatever. Now, the Yankees are going to say, well, it's all about money for Aaron Judge. Well, first of all, it's all about money for everybody. And these other teams, Aaron Judge isn't worth to them what he's worth to the Yankees. Because as I've said, and I said on my MLB wrap-up, which you'll see at some point when Dan puts it up, Aaron Judge is worth more to the Yankees than what he'll bring to the field. And he'll bring plenty, at least for the next 5 or 6 years. And if you don't get your money's worth on the backside of that contract, who the heck cares? Because the Yankees are going to make tens, hundreds of millions of dollars off of him while he's playing in attendance, in advertising, in TV revenue, in merchandise. That's just while he's playing and while they're getting good performance from him on the field. They'll probably recoup $100 million a year off that contract or that signing. Then they're going to make money off of him for decades after he retires, selling his jersey, his likeness, whatever you want to sell, they'll sell. And they'll make money for decades after he's dead and gone. They'll make money off of him decades after I'm dead and gone. And all of you are gone. So it's not about money for the Yankees. Don't let anybody fool you into thinking it's about money. It's a lot of money. And don't get me wrong. Most of the time I would tell you how much is enough. But this is the New York Yankees, and they're not going to invest $400 million. They're going to recoup $1 billion off of him in the long run. And if you don't think so, you probably got to do some math. So Pickles thinks he should take the deal, stay a Yankee. He might. I mean, it's possible nobody offers a better deal than that. I've said here, I don't think the Giants can afford it because they can't put a team around. I don't think he wants to be a Giant because if they sign him, they can't afford to put a decent team around him. They don't have unlimited resources like the Yankees have or the Dodgers have or the Mets have. I will tell you, Pickles, I don't have a problem in this case with Aaron Judge getting everything he can get from the Yankees. Because they had their chance to sign him earlier in the spring, and it would not have taken 8 years, $300 million to do it. I think it's going to take 10 years and $400 million to get this done. I've said it from the beginning. And I just think that's the way it would be. There's no other player in Major League Baseball I'd rather have in the lineup than Aaron Judge. Me as well. And again, for the Yankees, Pickles, don't forget, it's not just about what he brings to the field. He's the face of the franchise. He puts butts in the seats. He puts people in front of the TV. He brings advertisers to the TV revenue that the Yankees own. He sells jerseys. He sells whatever else you can put Aaron Judge and All Eyes on. And they won't just sell those while he's a Yankee for the next 8 or 10 years. They'll sell those for decades again, as I said, after he's retired and decades after he's dead. Just like they have with Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, and anybody else you can mention. Short-sighted if the Yankees don't make this happen. 300 is a bargain. But Aaron Judge said he wasn't given a hometown discount because, again, the Yankees, both sides here gambled in the spring. They played some Russian roulette, and Aaron Judge won. The gun went off in the Yankees' hand. Well, now they got the gun again, and the gun's still to their head because they need Aaron Judge. Not just for his play in the field. In the immediate future, they need Aaron Judge in a field. Who's going to replace him? Just, I don't get it. I just don't get it. I mean, you could tell me I'm nuts, but I don't get it. Where's the Yankees? What do you got here, Pickles? Sorry, it's got something else here. Judge drives revenues on every platform. You're preaching to the choir here, my friend. This is what I've been saying I've been saying this for months. I've been saying this since March. There's no price that's too much to pay for Aaron Judge because he will make money for this team forever. They're liable to make $1 billion off this guy in the next 100 years. I know that sounds crazy, right? Let's just say 50. I won't be here anymore. Unless I'm 112. Prop me up, Pickles. You want me here when I'm 112 ranting and raving like I am now? Oh, what other news do we have with the Yankees? Yankees chasing Andrew Benintendi, who I said I'd like to see back in the outfield because I think an outfield of Benintendi, Bader, and Judge is really good defensively. Benintendi brings a left-handed bat, which is badly needed, and a guy who isn't just swinging for the fences all day long. So I want to see them. They got some competition. Can't remember who I read the other day was interested in him. Could have been the Blue Jays. I don't think they want to see him go to a division rival. But I want to see this guy in. Pickles at 105 now. Well, in 50 years, you'll be 155, and I'll be 112. What else news? I think some interesting news because I really like the WBC. I don't know about the rest of you guys. The World Baseball Classic that'll get played in, I think, next March. Nestor Cortez is going to play for the U.S., which I think is kind of cool. I like this. Again, the timing of it isn't great, especially for the U.S. because players are they're just getting into baseball shape in March, right? Players stay more in shape today in the offseason than they did in the past. But I think it's very interesting. I think this is a very interesting competition, and I like it. We're never going to see it where the U.S. players are in midseason form because they're not going to stop the season for a couple of weeks like the NHL has for the Olympics in the past to make this happen. So, and by the way, it was the Astros that I read were in contention for Andrew Benintendi. Probably the worst nightmare for the Yankees, the Astros getting him. I like this kid's game a lot. Took him some time to adjust in New York, but I thought he did a really, really, really good job. Tick, tick, tick. What else is going on in the world of the Yankees? The Yankees were hoping to bring in, or have talked about bringing in, Derek Jeter and Don Mattingly to work on the Yes Network. Mattingly's turned them down. It appears Mattingly is this close to joining the Blue Jays as their bench coach. I like Don Mattingly, one of my favorite players growing up. Greg Nettles, Bobby Mercer was my all-time favorite Yankee growing up. Greg Nettles was another guy that I became enamored with as we played the same position. But Don Mattingly is always got a great place in my heart as well. And he got passed over for the Yankee job when Joe Girardi got it back in 2006 or 7, when Joe Torre was let go. And it's probably best that it happened that way, because Joe Mattingly had some things going on in his personal life with regards to his wife at the time, and it's probably best that it didn't happen, and best that he didn't cut his teeth as a manager in New York. But he did very well, went out to LA, and he was Joe Torre's bench coach out there. He managed the Dodgers afterwards to a few playoff appearances. Did very well with a Marlins team that's terrible. Longest tenured manager in their history. And got them to a playoff during the COVID season. He'll be a manager again. Possibly in New York, who knows? Maybe that's why he didn't take another job. Billy Martin was your favorite Yankee. As a player and a manager, or just a manager, Pickles? Because if you're really 105, you probably watched Billy play as a player as well. I didn't get to see Billy as a player. I saw Billy as a manager. Billy's a great manager. But Billy had some demons, man. And if you've never read some of the books, number 1 is a good one. The Billy Martin, I just read one recently. Billy Martin story, maybe. There's a few you can find on Kindle. Billy had demons, man, and it was like success. He would be successful, and then he had to sabotage himself. It's a very interesting study, a psychological study, Billy Martin. Great manager. There was no better tactical manager in the history of baseball. I put Billy Martin in the Hall of Fame. For managing a game, between the lines, Billy Martin was the best. Problem was, once you walked off that field, Billy just had no self-control, and Billy, again, he was his own worst enemy. Billy versus Reggie was priceless. You look at Reggie Jackson. Listen, Reggie was really good with the Yankees. Reggie was a great player, Hall of Famer, great player. How does Billy, and again, how does Reggie Jackson have a monument in Yankee Stadium for 5 pretty good years? But guys like Nettles and Mercer, I know Bobby wasn't a great player, but he was the face of the franchise during a really bad era. Greg Nettles, Roy White. I don't get it. Don't get it. But it was a lot of fun, man. And again, if you haven't seen or watched, I should say, there's a couple things a couple of great books about the Yankees in that era. If you haven't watched them or read them, I should say, Pickles, and one of them was made into a movie. The Bronx Zoo is a great book by Peter Gallenbeck. And he better wrote it with Sparky Lyle, actually. And The Bronx is Burning, another great book. Check them out. Bronx is Burning was made into a mini series by, I think, ESPN. So anyway, good stuff. What else is going on in the world of the Yankees? Not so much. Let's look at the Mets quickly here before we got to sign off. The Mets, where are you? Mets? That's the Knicks. We don't care about the Knicks. We already talked about them. Mets are working on some contingency plans if in case Jacob deGrom doesn't come back. Listen, if I'm the Mets, I can't give deGrom more than a couple of years. If I'm anybody, I can't give deGrom more than a couple of years. With his injury history, when he pitches and he's right, he's the best pitcher in baseball. But they're looking at Justin Verlander. Now, I don't think you can wait too long. best case scenario for the Mets is that DeGrom makes his decision fast, whether it's to return to the Yankees or return to the Mets or leave, so that the Mets can go after Verlander or go after some of the other guys that are going to be free agents here, whether it be Rendon or some of these other guys. I think the Mets have to be very, very careful what they do here. That woman was at my mailbox. That was weird. Sorry about that. Got distracted. What do you got here, Pickles? Ball 4? Ball 4 was, you know what? You read Ball 4 now. It was one of the first tell-all books. And I have read Ball 4 by Jim Bouton. Great book. And it was at the time scandalous, basically, right? For opening up the closed doors of the clubhouse and the nightlife with these players. And a lot of players took exception to it. And it's pretty tame compared to the things you read today that are written about different teams and different players. So, but a very good example of a very, very good book. And it is a hilarious book, Pickles. Excellent. Jim Bouton did a great job. And I don't remember who his ghostwriter was, or his, I shouldn't say his ghostwriter, but whoever helped him with that. The Mets also made some coaching moves this week as they parted ways. I can't seem to get this thing open here. I know they promoted Eric Chavez. Why can't I open this freaking article? Damn it. Sorry. Here we go. So they let bullpen coach Craig Borgensen go as part of the latest shakeup. And Jeremy Hefner is obviously trying to get some replacements for him. No word on why this might have happened. But they also let Glenn Sherlock go, who has worked for Buck Showalter several times as the bench coach, and put in Eric Chavez as the bench coach there. Eric Chavez is a manager in waiting. He's going to be a manager sooner rather than later. So just a little bit of the news going on with the Mets, and we'll get ready to wrap it up here. Pickles, I appreciate your input here today. I appreciate everybody who has contributed to the show. Watch the show. We'll watch this later. Again, please, guys, reach out to Dan Harris, who's usually my co-host on this show, or I guess I'm his co-host. He's usually the lead, but I'm happy to do this show in Dan's stead, and we do hope, and we miss Dan. I know everybody that works with Dan on his Let's Talk Sports Network misses him on the air and hopes he gets healthy enough to get back on the air soon. So please reach out and have a conversation with the Pickles. Great to have you with us. You're welcome on my shows anytime. Guys, for me, you can certainly catch me, as you know, on Sundays with my Sunday stream of consciousness, 8:30 a.m. Eastern time. What else do we do? The College Football Huddle on Wednesday nights at 7 Eastern time. Are You Serious with the Mad New Yorker, 8 a.m. on Fridays. And then we have a weekly vlog and some other stuff that we'll do. And we also guest other places as well. Pickles, thanks for coming in. Thank you. You guys all have a great weekend. Enjoy the football. We got a great weekend of college football. We didn't get into the Syracuse. We'll talk about them next week. We'll know where they play. And we'll talk more New York sports next week. Hopefully Dan sees us soon. Have a great, great, great weekend, guys.